Good morning, everyone. I hope you are doing well. From today onwards, we are going to do revision of polity from M. Lakshmikant. Basically, that M. Lakshmikant has been summarized in this Udan by only IS. In less than 200 pages, it has been summarized. So, more than 90% of the topics which are there in M. Lakshmikant, that is also mentioned in this Udan book, but in less words and with less explanation. And hence, we will use this book for our revision purposes, and the purpose is just to complete the syllabus on time and not for the copyright infringement. And we are using this book as per the fair use policy of the Copyright Act. You can download this book from the PW Only IS website, that is available for free. So in this book there are 37 chapters, and we will do from chapter number 2 till chapter number 37, and then we'll do chapter number 1, because historical background is very lengthy. If you get into this, then it will become very difficult. So we will do from chapter number 2 till chapter number 37, then at the end we'll do chapter number 1. So today we are going to do making of the Indian Constitution. So let's do making of the Indian Constitution first of all. So in making of the Constitution, we will discuss about the demand for a Constituent Assembly, the historical background of the demand for the Constituent Assembly. Then we will talk about the important dates in the Constituent Assembly, which was asked again and again in the prelims exam. Then we will talk about the composition of the Constituent Assembly. Then the objective resolution, which formed the basis of the preamble of India. Then we will talk about the functions performed by the Constituent Assembly, the major committees which were formed, and then we will talk about the enactment and the enforcement of the Constitution of India and some important facts about the Indian Constitution. Okay, so let's begin with the demand for a Constituent Assembly. In 1934, M.N. Roy put forward the idea of the Constituent Assembly of India. So if we talk about the historical background, so the Constituent Assembly idea was put forward by M.N. Roy in 1934. Then in 1935, INC officially demanded that the Constituent Assembly must be formed for the purpose of the making of the Indian Constitution. Then in 1938, Jawaharlal Nehru, on behalf of the Indian National Congress, declared that the Constitution of Free India must be framed, and it must be free from any interference from outside bodies or outside party, or any outside country. Then in 1940, this demand was accepted by the British government in principle in August offer. In 1942, in Cribb's proposal, a draft proposal on framing of an independent constitution to be adopted after World War II. In 1942, the Cribb's proposal said that a draft proposal on framing of the independent constitution must be adopted after the World War II. But this idea was rejected by the Muslim League because Muslim League was adamant on this thing, that they wanted two different countries and hence two different constituent assemblies. Hence, the idea of one constituent assembly was rejected outrightly by the Muslim League. Then in 1946, Cabinet Mission Plan came, and it rejected the idea of two constituent assemblies, but made the plan in such a manner that it was more or less accepted by the Muslim League. And there were three different members of the Cabinet Mission Plan, and this question was asked in prelims once, that who of the following is not a member of the Constituent Assembly or was not the member of the Cabinet Mission Plan. So this question was asked once in prelims. So we have to remember the name of the members of the Cabinet Mission Plan. So it was Lord Patrick Lawrence or Lord Patrick Lawrence. So in some of the books it says Lord Patrick Lawrence. In other books it says Lord Patrick Lawrence. So we can remember Lord Patrick Lawrence. So Stafford Cripps and A.V. Alexander. A.V. Alexander, Patrick Lawrence, and Stafford Cripps. A.V. Alexander, Patrick Lawrence, and Stafford Cripps. So these were the three members of the cabinet mission plan. Then we will talk about some of the important dates in the Constituent Assembly. Like on 9th December 1946, the first sitting of the Constituent Assembly happened, but the Muslim League outrightly boycotted it. So no member of the Muslim League came in the Constituent Assembly. On 9th December 1946, first sitting of the Constituent Assembly took place. Then on 11th December 1946, Dr. Dr. Sachidanand Sinha became the temporary chairman of the assembly. And this question was asked in prelims 2024, that who uh, was elected as the temporary chairman of the Constituent Assembly. So Dr. Sachidanand Sinha was elected as the chairman of the Constituent Assembly, temporary chairman of the Constituent Assembly, but the president but who became the president? Dr. Rajendra Prasad became the president of the Constituent Assembly. And there were two vice presidents, H.C. Mukherjee and V.T. Krishnamachari. So again, Dr. Sachidanand Sinha as the temporary chairman, Dr. Rajendra Prasad became the president of the Constituent Assembly, and vice presidents uh, who became the vice presidents, H.C. Mukherjee and V.T. Krishnamachari. Then on 13th December 1946, objective resolution was introduced by Jawaharlal Nehru, and this objective resolution later on became the basis of the preamble of the Indian Constitution. On 13th December 1946, uh, objective resolution was introduced by Jawaharlal Nehru. On 22nd July 1947, national flag was adopted by the Constituent Assembly. This is very important. On 22nd July 1947, you have to remember this date. On 22nd July 1947, the Constituent Assembly adopted the national flag. Then on 15th August 1947, obviously transfer of power happened and led to the formation of two dominions, India and Pakistan. Pakistan became independent on 14th August 1947, and India became independent on 15th August 1947. Then on 26th November 1949, the constitution was adopted or enacted, but it came into force on 26th January 1950. On 24th January 1950, two things happened. One, national song was adopted, and also national anthem was adopted. So on 24th January 1950, that is just 2 days before the constitution came into force, national song and national anthem was adopted. Then first general elections were held from 25th October 1951 till 21st Feb 1952. From 25th October 1951 till 21st Feb 1952. Then we will talk about the constitution of the Constituent Assembly. So, as we mentioned above, that the Constituent Assembly was constituted under the Cabinet Mission Plan, and Cabinet Mission Plan came on November 1946. So we can say that Constituent Assembly was constituted on November 1946 under the Cabinet Mission Plan. What was the strength of the Constituent Assembly? There were 389 members, out of which 296 were from British India and 93 from princely states. Out of these 296 members from British India, 292 members were drawn from governors' provinces, and 4 members were drawn from commissioners' provinces. Then if you see the composition, it comprised of all the sections of the society, no matter what religion you are from: Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Parsis, Anglo-Indians, Indian Christians, SCs, STs, everyone, and including the women. So it composed of every section of the society. Then seat allocation. The seat allocation happened on the basis of the population. So it was first, it was on the basis of the respective population of the province or the princely state, and also it was divided among 3 different communities: Muslims, Sikhs, and general. And this division was also on the basis of the population of Muslim community, Sikh community, and the other, that is general community. Then comes voting method. What was the voting method used for the composition of Constituent Assembly? So the members from the provinces were indirectly elected by the members of the provincial assemblies, and the members of the princely states were nominated by the princely heads. Okay, so this question was asked in one of the prelims exam, that whether it is directly elected or indirectly elected, and if indirectly elected, then indirectly elected from the members of the provincial assemblies or constituent assembly, or which members, basically members of the princely states, which member. So this was all about the constituent assembly, but two important things to be noted is: one, Mahatma Gandhi was not part of the constituent assembly, so Mahatma Gandhi never became part of the constituent assembly, and second, 93 seats allotted to the princely states were not filled as they decided to stay away from the constituent assembly. Also later on, if you see, Muslim League also withdrew from the constituent assembly, and the strength came down to 299 as against 389 under the cabinet mission plan. Then comes objective resolution. So Jawaharlal Nehru moved this historic objective resolution. So it can be asked in the exam that who moved this resolution, or it can be asked in a statement that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel moved objective resolution, Mahatma Gandhi moved this objective resolution. But you have to say no, Jawaharlal Nehru moved this objective resolution, and this objective resolution became the basis of the preamble. So if you see the uh, words of the objective resolution, you see it is pretty much same as the preamble. Guaranteed the people of India justice, social, economic, political, equality of status and of opportunity, freedom of thought, expression, belief, etc. This resolution was adopted on 22nd January 1947 by the Assembly, and the preamble of the Constitution is a modified version of the objective resolution, obviously, as I said again and again. And what were the changes made by the Independence Act in 1947? The Independence Act 1947 made Constituent Assembly a fully sovereign body, and it can abrogate or alter any law. Second, two separate functions were assigned to the Assembly. One was legislative body and the second was constituent body. The chairman of the legislative body was G.V. Malavankar, that is Gyana Vasudeva Malavankar, and the chairman of the Constituent Assembly was Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Then this Constituent Assembly became the first parliament of Free India, and it remained the first parliament till November 26, 1949. However, as I said, that after the withdrawal of the Muslim League, the total strength of the Constituent Assembly came down to 299 as against 389. However, also out of these 299, only 284 members attended the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly. Out of a total 299 members of the Assembly, only 284 were actually present on the day. On the date of the enactment of the Constitution, only 284 members were present. Not the first day of the Constituent Assembly, not the first day of the meeting, but on the day when the Constitution came into force. On the day when the Constitution was enacted, only 284 members were actually present. Yes. After that, what are the functions performed by the Constituent Assembly? So it ratified India's membership to the Commonwealth. So as you know, all the countries which were once a colony of the Britain is now members of the Commonwealth, but not all the countries can accept or reject the membership of the Commonwealth. So the Constituent Assembly ratified India's membership of the Commonwealth in May 1949, then adopted the national flag on 22nd July 1947, adopted the national song and national anthem on January 24, 1950, elected Rajendra Prasad as the first president of India on 24th January 1950. The final session of this Constituent Assembly happened on 24th January 1950. However, it remained as the Provisional Parliament of India till May 1952. The total number of sessions happened, and this is irrelevant. This is very factual. Okay. Then there were 8 different major committees which were formed, and you have to remember the name of these committees and the chairman of these committees. So Jawaharlal Nehru was the chairman of three different Jawaharlal Nehru was the chairman of 3 different committees. One was Union Powers Committee, second was Union Constitution Committee, and third is States Committee. What did I say? Union Powers Committee, Union Constitution Committee, and States Committee. Then Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was the chairman of 2 different committees. One is Provincial Constitution Committee, and the second is Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights and Tribal Affairs. So Jawaharlal Nehru was the chairman of 3 different committees: Union Powers Committee, Union Constitution Committee, and States Committee. Whereas Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was the chairman of Provincial Constitution Committee and Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights and Tribal Affairs. Then Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the chairman of one steering committee, and second is Rules of Procedure Committee. Then B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman of the drafting committee. The drafting committee was set up on 29th August 1947, and drafting committee consisted of 7 members. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman, and there were other members as well. And you have to remember these names because it was asked in prelims once that which of the following is not a member of the Constituent Assembly. So you have to remember the names, all the 7 names. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman. And other members were Gopalaswamy Iyengar, Krishnaswamy Iyer, K.M. Munshi, Sayyid Muhammad Sadullah, and Madhav Rao, and T.T. Krishnamachari. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman. There were 6 different other members. One was Gopalaswamy Iyengar, Krishnaswamy Iyer, K.M. Munshi, Muhammad Sadullah, Madhav Rao, and then T.T. Krishnamachari. Then we will see the enactment and the enforcement of the Constitution. So it was enacted on, so you can say it was enacted and adopted on 26th November 1949. Out of 299 members, only 284 were actually present because Muslim League boycotted. It. So the total strength came to 299 members, and out of these 299 members, only 284 were actually present. And at that time, it contained the preamble, 395 articles, and 8 schedules. Now it consists of the preamble, obviously, and 448 articles, and 12 schedules, and 25 parts. Now it consists of the preamble, 448 articles, 25 parts, and 12 schedules. The preamble was enacted after the entire constitution was already enacted to align with the philosophy of the constitution. So this question can also be asked in the prelims. So the preamble was enacted after the entire constitution was enacted. You have to remember this. And when did it actually come into force? If this question is asked, that the preamble was enacted on 26 November 1949. However, it came into force on which date? This question can be asked. So you have to remember this, that some of the provisions of the constitution came into force on 26th November 1949, like the citizenship, elections, provisional parliament, temporary and transitional provisions, short titles. So these provisions like citizenship, elections, these provisions came into force on 26th November 1949, but the other provisions came into force on 26th January 1950. So major part came into force on 26th January 1950, but some of the provisions came into force on 26th November 1949 itself. Okay. Also, you have to remember this, that why 26th January was selected, because on 26th January 1930, Poon Swaraj Day was celebrated following the Lahore session which happened in December 1929. So on January 26, 1930, Poon Swaraj Day was celebrated for the first time. That's why this 26th January was selected for enforcing the Constitution of India. And With the enforcement of the Constitution of India, the Indian Independence Act of 1947 and the Government of India Act 1935 were repealed, and the abolition of Privy Council Jurisdiction Act continued. Then one expert committee was formed by the Congress for the purpose of preparing material for the Constituent Assembly. For the purpose of preparing material for the Constituent Assembly, expert committee of the Congress was formed. And who were the members of the of this expert committee? Obviously, Jawaharlal Nehru was one of the member, and then M. Asaf Ali, K. M. Munshi, Gopalaswamy Iyengar, K. T. Shah, D. R. Gadgil, Humayun Kabir, K. Santhanam. These were the members of expert committee. But I don't think this can be asked in the prelims. So most they can ask is what was the purpose of forming the expert committee? So the purpose was preparing material for the Constituent Assembly. And the second question that can be asked is who was the chairman? The chairman was the chairman was Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay. And then at the end we will talk about important facts about the Indian Constitution. Some of the important facts. Like what was the symbol of the Indian Constitution? Of the Constituent Assembly. What was the symbol of the Constituent Assembly? Symbol or seal? So the symbol was elephant. Elephant was the symbol or the seal of the Constituent Assembly. Second, Sir B.N. Rao was the constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly. Elephant was adopted as the seal or the symbol of the Constituent Assembly. Sir B.N. Rao was the constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly. Third, H.V.R. Iyengar was the secretary of the Constituent Assembly. So H.V.R. Iyengar was the secretary. S.N. Mukherjee was the chief draftsman. So you have to remember this. The contribution of S.N. Mukherjee was very, very important for the formation of the Constitution of India. So elephant was the symbol, B.N. Rao was the constitutional advisor, S.N. Mukherjee was the chief draftsman, H.V.R. Iyengar was the secretary, Prem Bihari Raizada was the calligrapher, Nand Lal Bose and B.R. Sinha decorated and beautified the constitution, and the Hindi version calligraphy was done by Vasant Krishna Vaidya and illuminated by Nand Lal Bose. So Nand Lal Bose decorated both the English version and the Hindi version, but the English calligraphy was done by Prem Bihari Raizada, but the Hindi version calligraphy was done by Vasant Krishna Vaidya. Then at the end we will talk about Hindi text of the Constitution. So the 58th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1987 addressed the lack of provisions for an authoritative Hindi text by introducing Article 394A in Part 22 of the Constitution, and the President is mandated to translate the Constitution into Hindi authority and to revise the Hindi text accordingly. So initially there was no authoritative text in Hindi language, but later on in the 50th Constitutional Amendment Act, which came into force in 1987, so in the 50th Constitutional Amendment Act 1987, this issue was addressed, and Article 394A was inserted in Part 22 of the Constitution, and it addressed this lack of provisions for an authoritative text, and it mandated the President to translate the Constitution into Hindi authoritative text. And whenever there's any amendment or any changes in the Constitution, then also the same amendment shall be in Hindi language as well. So at the end, we'll talk about this one more fact. Sir B.N. Rao, who was the constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly, was a civil servant who became the first Indian judge in the International Court of Justice. So Sir B.N. Rao was also the first Indian judge in the International Court of Justice and was also president of the United Nations Security Council. So he was appointed as the Assembly's constitutional advisor in 1946. Okay, so with this chapter on making of the Indian Constitution comes to an end. Thank you.